Ahoy, my friends, Ryder here, and welcome back to another Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis video. As promised, today is going to be my full guide and walkthrough for the brutal B30 tower floor against Ifrit and Bahamut. I'm going to be showing you guys multiple different teams. I'm going to be linking in the description below different videos for different players that utilize those different teams, and then I'm going to be showing you guys the team that I used to clear it with, and then doing a voiceover of the entire fight itself, just so that I can explain the fight in as much depth as possible so that you guys have the best chance of getting that clear out there. Now, before I get into this video, I do have a couple brief announcements. One is that the next book in the Curseborn Saga will be publishing next week on Wednesday, October 23rd. So I hope you guys are excited. The book's name is Hope's Flame. It is the third book in the series Curseborn Saga, and super excited to finally be sharing it with you. The second announcement here today has to do with guilds. As you guys know, there is a 4th guild war coming up next week, and changes can be made in guild rosters all the way up until the day it begins. As of right now, we currently have a few of our guilds currently recruiting for this guild war. So if you are a player that's looking for a strong community with guilds and trying to join that type of family, then this might be the thing for you. So in order to actually apply to one of our guilds, you're going to have to join our Discord. We have 15 different guilds under one alliance currently, each guild named after a summon. There is a link in the bio of all my videos to join our Discord, and once you do, you're going to find our Discord looking like this. Hey, what's up, J-Ro? By the way, J-Ro just put out a new video showcasing ANGEAL against the Ifrit and Bahamut B30 fight, so if you guys are trying to clear it with ANGEAL, make sure to check out his new video. But once you join the Discord, you're going to scroll down here till you get to Curseborn Alliance right here. As you guys can see, we have a different channel for every single guild, each run by its own guild leader and sub-leaders, but you're going to want to scroll down here to players looking for guilds right here. All right, and then you can just basically put your information, follow the same style as all the other players who have done this, and then hopefully you'll get picked up into a guild. We have all different kinds of ranges. You know, we have guilds that have very little requirements. You know, I think that daily play is a requirement for all of our guilds, but some have power level requirements, others don't, right? And they range. We have guilds in the top 10, ranging all the way into the top 100, etc. Top 20, top 30, top 40, top 50, top 60, bunch of different things. So hope to see you guys there, and yeah, hopefully we'll have some fun in the next 4th guild war. So that being said, I am going to jump into the actual team setups that you can use for the brutal B30 fight against Ifrit and Bahamut. All right, now first thing I'm going to show you, there's a couple different ways to do this, right? And I'm going to link videos in the description for those of you guys, but here is the first team right here. This was cleared by J-Ro, a really good friend of mine and a sub-leader in our guild. I believe he was the first person to put up a video clearing this fight in the world, so congrats to J-Ro, amazing player. And he did it with Cloud, Aerith, and Lucia. So if you guys want to see his clear, I will put a link to the video of his clear. Now, for those of you guys that have a less than, OB6 Stream Saber, there is a Japanese player who managed this clear with this team, right? So Cloud, Matt, and Zach, and he was using an OB3 Stream Saber. All right, so I will leave a link to that player's video as well. All right, then we had the other strategy using Sephiroth, and we had Janelle put up a video using an OB9 Sephiroth, so not even OB10. All right, so I will put a link to her video as well. So that's going to be 3 completely different teams there. Now I'm going to show you guys the team that I used for this fight. All right, and I'm going to try and basically go over everything that you need to know in as simple way as possible. I had to do at least 500 different brands to really tweak what I needed for this fight. But I will say that in the Ifrit and Bahamut fight, you're basically building for 3 different things, okay? 2 are defensive, 1 is offensive. The first is you need to be able to survive the opening intro, essentially the first Crimson Flare. Okay, now this is going to be a lot easier if you're using Red 13 or Matt, because they have limit breaks that can completely remove physical attack up, magic attack up. So Ifrit in this fight is immune to physical attack, magic attack breaks. However, if you hit him with this limit break, it will remove his buffs. So that will make surviving the Crimson Flare significantly easier. So I would say, you know, you're shooting for around 220 plus magic defense if you're using Stardust Ray or Vanquishing Blade or Vanquishing Point from Matt in order to make the Crimson Flares more survivable. The second thing you guys are going to need to survive is Bahamut's Dive Bomb. And depending on your DPS, I'm guessing if you guys are still struggling, DPS is still something that is a little bit tough to put together. And essentially, you know, there's a bunch of different ways to go about this. Having Cloud in the team really helps because his ultimate weapon has a full physical attack, magic attack break. However, you can only use it once in the fight, right? So, you know, in my version of the fight, I had to tank the dive bomb 2 times. Now, when I was building my team, as you guys will see, Cloud does not have enough physical defense to tank the dive bomb. Your DPS doesn't necessarily need to survive it, but I will say that you want to build at least 2 characters of the 3 that can survive the dive bomb with only a single debrave as a debuff and a physical 2-tier physical defense buff, which is likely coming from the Bahamut rod from Aerith, right? So that's the bare minimum that you need to be able to survive it. Of course, there are different ways around this, but for me, that's what I was shooting for. 2 characters. Now, in order to survive it, with 2 characters, you're going to need around 225 physical defense and 12.5k HP. Okay, so you guys maybe want to write that down or just take a mental note of it. But that is how you're going to be able to survive the dive bomb. Now, once you get past the first one, for example, if I'm going through Ifrit's ignition phase, we survive the Crimson Dive, and Bahamut targets Cloud, it's basically a reset. I need to restart. So that's why it's better to have 2 characters that can survive it. If you have 1, it's possible, but then you're really rolling the dice because you're hoping that Bahamut is targeting that character, and it is a random choice, by the way. So unless you're using ANGEAL's Provoke, you know, it's a random choice on Bahamut. So for me, 2 were better because you're going to have to deal with this 2 times at a minimum, possibly 3 times, right? Which means you really need to be able to survive that. One of those is kind of, you know, skippable via Cloud's ultimate weapon, right? If you're using Cloud. But other than that, you will have to tank up to 2 of them without it. So now I'm going to go into a quick overview of my team and how I went about setting it up. So for Cloud, I had his Anniversary Ice Arcanum costume, of course, Shiva's Diamond Dust, Stream Saber in the main hand, Bahamut Greatsword in the offhand. You can do this with Bahamut Greatsword at OB6. You might even be able to do it with less. For me, the DPS check wasn't as hard as basically surviving and memorizing the fight up past the first dive bomb. I will tell you this, that the very first time I got Bahamut into the red was the very first time I beat the fight. So for me, the first Crimson Flare, surviving Crimson Flare as a team and surviving the dive bomb with a single debrave and 2-tier physical defense buff is the crux of the fight. When it comes to playing the characters, Aerith is the crux of the fight because you really have to time her spiritual harmonies so that the buffs are up at the right time, but they, you know, what's the word for it? The buffs fall off at the right time as well so that you can recast them. And you don't always, sometimes when you extend the duration on the buff, it just messes up the timing of everything. It ends up falling off at the wrong time. So I will say that playing Aerith is definitely the crux of this fight. So you really want to focus on how Aerith is being played because essentially Cloud is going to do whatever he's going to do. I did have a team where I put Glavenus in the offhand for Cloud. I absolutely did not like it whatsoever. The AI is still not perfect in the game, and because of that, Cloud will randomly cast the Glavenus debuff on, you know, even if we have Bahamut targeting, he'll just randomly use it on Ifrit. So every time he randomly uses it, which is periodically throughout the fight, it wastes ATB. So if you're a player who is like right on the line of DPS, I highly recommend putting Glavenus in the sub weapons and not in the offhand. On top of that, the Bahamut Greatsword is fantastic for this fight because it allows you to more even out the, you know, the damage done on both opponents at the same time, because essentially there is no DPS KO check in this fight. It's just a timer, just a 15-minute timer. However, the moment you kill either Ifrit or Bahamut, the other one will go into their final KO move. So we need to kill them more or less roughly at the same time. Okay, now this can be done in a lot of different ways. I'm not going to go into all those strategies because I will be providing links to different players' clears. So I'm just going to discuss my strategy. My strategy did not involve using bio whatsoever, although it is a feasible strategy depending on your team. All right, now let's get back into a little bit of the team setup. Like I said, Cloud running Stream Saber, Bahamut Greatsword, Ultimate Weapon, super, very helpful for this fight if you can run Cloud. All right, and then I basically just have magic defense / physical attack stat sticks on Cloud. All right, so I'll just very briefly show you guys these materias. So as you can see, lots of magic defense there, still maintaining some physical attack. And I will say that for Cloud, HP is the third priority in stats. So as you can see, magic defense, HP, physical attack, that's kind of how I'm choosing them, as a blend between the three. All right, this is my third one. Magic defense 18, HP 5.6, physical attack 26. All right, now jumping over to Aerith, we are running her in her Bahamut Anniversary costume. Super helpful for this fight. You are going to need Icy Judgment, so you are going to want to level this up. If you haven't, get it to level 5. This is going to increase ice damage, AoE 2-tier buff for the team. Okay. And then for Aerith, I know that there are clears without Aerith's Kamado Wand, like for example Matt, but like I said, other different strategies I will be posting in the description. For me, I'm using Kamado Wand at OB7, Bahamut Rod OB7, and her ultimate weapon right here. And then for her materias, I will say that the only one for Aerith that's super important, other than stat sticks, is D-Brave. Okay, you're going to have a D-Brave here that's going to be used during Bahamut's dive bomb phase. Okay, and during that point in time, I'm typically backup healing with Red 13. Plus, Red 13 is dealing with Breach and Ice Breach throughout the entire fight. So it's just easier to put it on Aerith. I don't want Cloud doing anything in this entire fight except for Stream Saber and Fierce Claw, which is why he does not have any of the debuffs on him. He has just pure stat sticks on him. All right, other than that, for Aerith, we just have stat sticks right here. So I'll quickly show you guys each of hers. This is the D-Brave right here, focusing physical defense and magic defense. We have a Healing Asuna Darkness, focusing magic defense and physical defense here. All right, and then the third stat stick right here featuring HP, healing, and physical defense. As you can see, physical defense is taking priority on Aerith because for me, Aerith and Red 13 are the characters that I chose to be able to survive the dive bomb, which means I'm shooting for around 225 physical defense and 12.5k HP on them at a minimum, right? Now, if you have 14k HP, you can obviously reduce the physical defense, but that's going to take some, fine-tuning on your guys' end, and you just have to figure out exactly what you need to survive and then keep the maximum amount of DPS possible. All right, now let's jump over to Red 13. We are using his Hellhound costume with the Flame Frost Fangs, which is going to make surviving the Crimson Flares and the Hellfires a lot easier because of that 20% fire resistance there. All right, Stardust Ray, absolutely the crux limit break in this entire fight. So good. Red 13 makes this fight go from extremely brutal hard to just brutal hard. All right, so he definitely takes it down a notch. We have the Silver Collar here in the main hand. Very important weapon to have because of the Diamond Sigil break. All right. Then it also has really good healing, buff debuff extension, and last but not least, it has an all cure spell. So as of right now, my Aerith is going to have around 3,800 healing. That is not enough to solo heal this fight. So Red 13 is acting as our Diamond Sigil breaker, our magic attack breaker. He's our breacher, ice breacher. He's also our physical attack, magic attack up remover, and AoE backup healer. So Red 13, absolutely solid. For all of my brutal tower floor clears, for my thumbnail, I chose the character that I felt like was the most important aspect of that team for my team going into the fight. And as you guys saw for my brutal B30 clear, Red 13 was the thumbnail. He really makes this fight go from super brutal to just brutal itself, right? So other than that, in the offhand right here, and this was the last piece of the puzzle for me clearing this fight, was actually getting the Junk Collar to level 120, because this comes with physical defense and fire resistance here, which is absolutely phenomenal R abilities for this fight in particular. So I needed to get this up to 120 in order to get my physical defense to break into the next tier in order to survive the dive bomb. And once I did that, I basically won the fight on the next go or the time after that. All right, so this is going to be my setup right here. Quickly jumping into Red 13's materia. Materia that I would say are very important are both of these breaches. So I have the initial breach right here, featuring magic defense and HP. Okay, we're going to be basically breaching Bahamut the entire time so Cloud does more damage, and then also breaching Ifrit at the same time during the times in which we're attacking him in order to increase our damage. Then we have an Ice Breach. This is to help with Ifrit's ignition phase and lowering his bar via ice damage. All right, this has physical attack, magic attack, not as important, but I chose one that has the highest physical defense but also has some magic defense as well. So physical defense is still going to be the priority, especially on Red 13 with all his extra fire resistance. Okay, then last but not least, we have an AoE Cura here, 5-star if you can manage it, just because it'll give you a higher potency. And then we have magic defense 14, physical defense 5. All right, so that's going to be my setup on the front end of these characters. Let's take a look at the back end and show you what I was thinking when I went through this. I will quickly show you guys my brands as well. So here's Cloud Strife. Now he is level 90 here. All my characters are higher level than when I cleared this fight, but I will say that Cloud had 12,485 HP, Aerith had around 12.5k HP, and Red 13 had 12.3k HP. So you can survive it with that low of HP, but your defenses are going to be basically mimicking exactly what I have right here. And the way that you're going to be able to do that is by changing your brands. And every time you guys brand a weapon with a defensive stat, you're looking for a minimum of 7. Okay, a minimum of 7 or 2 different stats, physical defense, magic defense, right? Now, let's take a look at his physical attack. So I believe his was actually 7.8k before I leveled up. So around 7.8k, in the upper end of 7k. His physical defense 165, definitely not going to survive Dive Bomb. And his magic defense 261, which allowed him to barely survive the Crimson Flare at the beginning. However, I didn't actually use Red Stardust right at the beginning of the fight, and I could have. It will recharge by the time you need it again, which would have made this a little bit easier. So you don't need quite this much magic defense on Cloud, but you are going to want to shoot for like around, maybe for Cloud with 12k something HP, around 240, 250 magic defense. And the best way to do that is to basically equip 2 guild weapons, magic defense all at OB7, right? Which is exactly what I do. And then also I equip 1 guild weapon, physical defense all at OB7 as well, which really makes this fight a lot more doable. By the way, guys, I highly recommend not taking guild weapons past OB7. I have talked to some players out there that take them to OB10, and it just doesn't get better. The R ability doesn't improve unless you put it in the main hand, and so I think that the resources that it costs to take it from 8 to 10 are just not worth it. So always stop at 7. You can even leave it at level 90 if you want. Now, I'm going to show you guys, here's his sub-weapons right here. So as you can see, Cloud is fully offensive right here, guys. I didn't have to put a single defensive weapon on him because I was already cutting it close on the physical attack. So we have the Ceremonial Sword Z, the Bald Eagle, and the Glavenus. Thank God the Glavenus is not in the offhand anymore. That was like driving me nuts. So I'm going to quickly show you guys my brands right here. All right, so here's my main attack weapon, the only one that does not have defensive brands on it, but every other weapon, including this weapon, which I had a great brand on it, but I needed Cloud to survive, and so I had to switch this right here. And it's, as you guys can see, for Cloud, it's more important to have magic defense, so for whatever your DPS is, because he's not going to be trying to survive that dive bomb later on. So basically every single thing here is going to be focusing magic defense on the back end. All right, so most of them having, basically all of them having 7+ on the magic defense for Cloud. So everything for my DPS was focused on magic defense and maintaining physical attack and keeping the HP around 12.5k. Now let's jump over to Aerith. All right, and there's a couple things. Like I said, Aerith is the crux in this thing. The first thing I'm going to point out, which I think was very important for me in the opening sequence, was having her buff debuff extension at level 6. What this allowed me to do was only cast Spiritual Harmony 3 times in the opening intro, so Mega Flare, Hellfire, Crimson Flare, and by casting it 3 times, it will not wear off before the Crimson Flare, right? So what that does is it saves me 4 ATB, which essentially allows me to cast Blessed Aura twice before the Crimson Flare, meaning that I don't have to use Aerith's ultimate weapon in the opening sequence so I can save it for a later point in time in the fight. And the perfect time to use this is right after Ifrit's first Crimson Dive, right when Bahamut is going into Dive Bomb. If you have this, it makes surviving that first Dive Bomb so much easier. So I highly recommend trying to tweak your intro so that you can save Aerith's ultimate, right? And the best way to do that is to get the buff debuff extension to level 6. I'll show you guys more about this when I do the actual voiceover itself. All right, now looking at her stats, like I said, the stats are higher because she's a higher level now, but say 12.5k. Now the physical defense 229, magical defense 285, healing 3800. These stats have not changed, and for me this was perfect for Aerith with her HP sitting 12.5k. The physical defense 225 plus, she can survive the dive bomb. Magic defense, she's going to tank everything beautifully. Healing a little low, but because Red 13 is backup healing, it's okay. So shoot for the upper 3000s for healing if you guys can manage it. And a lot of this has to do with bumping weapons here and there with parts, etc., just to get the extra points to hit these thresholds right here, so healing, basically hitting 8 by 2 points. We had fire resist, but I couldn't quite hit those last 2 points there. Buff debuff extension level 6, super important. Now her sub weapons, we have the centipede here. We have our guild weapon, physical defense all. I chose the rose bouquet because of the fire resistance, all right? And then also we have the umbrella with the magic defense hull, also at OB7. All right, I tried to raise this one from 90 to 120 to get the fire resistance up, but it wasn't quite enough to hit that next tier for her. All right, now other than that, I'm just going to show you guys my brands really quickly. So for her, physical defense is far more important. She already has a lot of magic defense, and I needed her to survive the dive bomb. So you're going to see a lot of physical defense brands right here. I kept this one because it's a very high stat, magic defense at 10, but I think most of mine are going to be focusing physical defense right here, guys. So centipede right here. We got magic defense and physical defense. Obviously, that's the best position. We have rose bouquet, magic defense at plus 11, and then we have the umbrella here, also magic defense. So basically once I hit 225 plus, I didn't need to drop off magic defense, but essentially that's what you're shooting for, is to survive Crimson Flare and the dive bomb. If you can do that, it's just a DPS check for you guys. All right. Now we're going to jump over to Red 13, the last and potentially most important character of this entire setup. He's sitting at 12.9k HP, but he was at 12.3k when I did the fight. As you can see, physical defense 234, magic defense 198, and healing almost 2800. So super solid right here. The magic defense can be considerably lower on Red 13 because we are working with plus 20% fire resistance from that, and then plus another 20% fire resistance from the Flame Frost Fangs, guys. So that's going to make it so much easier for Red 13 to survive Crimson Flare, etc. So you don't need as much magic defense on him. However, you cannot squander the physical defense. It is absolutely imperative for this fight. Now, as you guys can see here, I barely hit the physical defense threshold at 15 points, which got me physical defense 30%, which is why I needed to get my junk collar to level 120. Healing at level 7 here. We have HP at level 5. But other than that, buff debuff duration, super important. He doesn't really need any type of physical DPS outlet. He's just a debuffer breaker throughout this entire fight and an off healer. Now to show you his sub weapons, we have our second magic defense all weapon at OB7. I have the crystal gloves here, basically just for the HP. This is a really good weapon for high R ability and HP points. And then last but not least, I have one physical attack all weapon on Red 13. This is the Stream Slasher, so I did not put one of these on Aerith, okay? And essentially this is just helping Cloud with a little bit more DPS throughout the fight. But that is going to be how you guys are building all of this stuff. I'll quickly show you guys my brands. All right, so right here, 12 physical defense. A lot of Red 13s are going to be physical defense, right? 8 physical defense on the junk collar. I don't have his ultimate weapon. On the foam sword, we have another 14 physical defense. On the crystal gloves, 7 physical defense. And on the stream slasher, which I removed my offensive brand to put a defensive brand, we have 7 more physical defense, right? So you guys, I had to get rid of some brands that I really liked in order to actually clear this fight. And like I said, I probably used 500 different brands or more. It's just one of those fights where you really need to tweak everything to have everything work properly. All right, so that is going to conclude my team setup for the Ifrit and Bahamut fight, basically breaking down the fight as simply as possible. Now I'm going to quickly discuss what I think is the crux sequence of this fight, which is the first Ifrit ignition phase, which you are essentially surviving with a single debrave and a 2-tier physical defense buff, where Bahamut has to choose 2 of the characters that you have set up in order to tank that dive bomb, right? Now, in order to get to the dive bomb, we're going to go through the Crimson Dive phase and the Ignition phase, and it's very important that Ifrit or Aerith's Spiritual Harmony, the magic defense buff, the attack buff, wears off before the Ignition phase, and you recast it fresh going into it. That way it'll last the entire Ignition phase. Cloud has the attack buff. You don't have to worry about it falling off, right? So that's the first most important thing. Then, once we go into it, once Bahamut's Mega Flare gauge is completely gone, Ifrit goes into the Ignition phase. Red 13 is going to breach Ifrit, Ice Breach Ifrit, okay? And then basically Bahamut is going to go into Tailspin. We're going to block the Tailspin, okay? Or we're not even going to, you don't even have to block it actually at the beginning. Essentially, right when Bahamut is about to go into the Tailspin, as long as you have the Breach and the Ice Breach on Ifrit, you're going to use Stardust Ray, Icy Judgment, Shiva's Diamond Dust, okay? That is going to break Ifrit's physical magic attack down to neutral, okay, which is going to make his heat waves do a lot less damage to you during this sequence, which makes it easier to heal back up for the Crimson Dive and to heal after the Crimson Dive for the dive bomb that's going to come after that. Once you use the initial Stardust Ray, Icy Judgment, Diamond Dust, we're going to tank the first heat wave, right? We're going to heal up. Cloud's going to continue doing damage. Red 13 is going to continue breaching and ice breaching Ifrit. Then we're going to tank the second heat wave. We're going to heal back up from that. Cloud is going to completely finish off the bar. We'll tank the Diamond Dust, and then we're going to move into the dive bomb phase, where we're going to debrave Ifrit, focus on healing everyone back up to full, make sure we have the 2-tier physical defense buff, then we're going to tank the dive bomb. If you can get to this point in the fight and you can survive, it is only a DPS check from that point in time, and you have a timer, all right? So that being said, let's get into the actual fight itself, and I'm going to do my best to give you guys a full walkthrough voiceover of the Ifrit versus Bahamut boss battle. Alright guys, so here we are going into the actual Ifrit and Bahamut fight. I'm going to do my best to simply walk you guys through this. So at the beginning, we're going to stay on Aerith. We're going to stay all the way to max ATB. You want to wait until the last possible moment to use Spiritual Harmony. Alright, so we're going to use Spiritual Harmony right here. Then we're going to switch to Red 13. He's going to use Frenzied Fang, Magic Attack Break. Back to Aerith. Wait all the way to the ATB is full for the second Spiritual Harmony. Okay, after that, back to Red 13. He's going to Magic Attack Break that to high tier. And then we're going to use Spiritual Harmony a third time. That is going to last us all the way through the Crimson Flare, all right, by about 2 seconds with buff debuff duration at level 6. Okay, super important here. All right, now we're going to tank the first hit right here. I'm going to jump over to Cloud, do 1 hit on Cloud, jump to Red 13, specifically Red 13 at 5 ATB, go defensive stance. It will trigger his heal and Aerith's heal, all right, which is going to be just enough to survive this Hellfire. All right, absolutely perfect. We're going to jump back over to Cloud, still focusing damage here. We're going to get off 2 hits with Cloud. All right, we're going to jump over to Red 13, wait till Aerith has 5 ATB, switch to blue stance. We're going to double trigger the heal again. All right, jump back to Red 13. Now we need to break the magic attack on Bahamut. We're going to do 1 more Blessed Aura on Aerith right here, which will take us to full HP. As you can see, we did not use her ultimate. Super important if you guys can manage it. All right, and then at the same time, we're just getting off some extra damage here with Cloud. Red 13 is getting off a Breach, okay? You can use Stardust Ray right there on Ifrit, right? Which makes this opening sequence a little bit easier to survive. And you will recharge it by the time you need it in Ifrit's Ignition phase. So just keep that in mind that you can use Stardust Ray on Ifrit right there if you need it. Now we're going to go into the double Sigil Break right here. Aerith will get off a heal. Cloud's just going to focus Fierce Claw, which makes this so much easier. And then having Red 13 with Silver Collar, you get the Diamond Sigil Break. It should be no problem for you guys to clear through this. All right, once we clear the Sigil Break, we're going to jump back over to Bahamut, who's going to go into his Mega Flare sequence right here. All right, make sure that you're using Breach on Red 13 just to get the most out of your damage. Okay, now we're going to use Spiritual Harmony right there. okay, during the interruption phase, which should last all the way through to the end of the Mega Flare phase, allowing us to recast it fresh going into the ignition phase. Very important, Aerith's timing of her buffs here, guys. I cannot stress that enough, okay? During the Mega Flare phase, I'm probably going to switch back and forth between Freezing Stream and Fierce Claw. Fierce Claw takes off less of the gauge, so I can get off more hits. So sometimes I'll switch back and forth between the two. Typically, when Mega Flare bar is up, I'm using Fierce Claw, and when it's not up, I'm using Freezing Stream. That way I can kind of more evenly balance the damage between Bahamut and Ifrit throughout this fight. Alright? So as you guys can see right here, our Spiritual Harmony just wore off. I'm not going to cast it right away, okay? I'm going to wait. I'm going to go to Aerith, wait to max ATB right here so that it lasts the entire ignition phase. Fresh cast right there. The Mega Flare gauge is broken. We're going to switch to Red 13. He's going to get off a Breach and an Ice Breach on Ifrit, which is going to set up our next sequence. Once that's done, we're just going to jump over here. And right when Bahamut starts to do his tailspin, we're going to interrupt with Stardust Ray. Boom, Tail Flail. There's Stardust Ray, Icy Judgment, Diamond Dust. This is going to give Cloud a 2-tier ice attack buff up, which is going to... Basically, we're going to almost break this entire ice bar right here. But every time Ifrit casts Heat Wave, it's going to resurge it, right? So we need to make sure that that ice bar is staying as low as possible. Alright, so we open strong, we remove his physical magic attack buff. This is going to greatly reduce the damage of his heat waves, block the heat wave right here, counter with Blessed Aura, jump back over to Cloud, we're doing damage. Red 13 is keeping up the breaches on Ifrit as much as possible, keep them up, especially the Ice Breach right there. Alright, we're going to block the spin attack, re-switch back to offensive stance, block the heat wave right here, counter with Blessed Aura. That's the second one. From here on out, full damage. There are no more attacks until the Crimson Dive. So you just need to get off a double hit with Cloud right there. Alright, and then we are going to tank the Crimson Dive. As you can see right there, I switched to Bahamut right at the end just to prepare going into the next sequence. Here comes Blessed Aura, followed by Aerith's ultimate weapon. Look at that, almost a full heal going into the dive bomb. Makes it so much easier. I'm going to wait to cast D-Brave right here. I'm not going to extend it. I'm going to cast it fresh. If you extend the D-Brave right there, it will likely fall off before dive bomb actually goes through. Right there, guys, and I'm going to rewind 1 second right here. Ifrit is going to go into a Flame Impact right here, okay? Now, you can be at full health when he starts to do this because, look, we have less than a quarter gauge left on the dive bomb right here, all right? You want to block this Flame Impact. As you can see, I'm blocking it with Red 13 in order to use his Cura, which will trigger Aerith's heal as well, which means we'll block the damage from Ifrit and heal up to full, and you can just leave the blue stance on after you block this attack, right? So I'm just going to go back a little bit more just so you guys can see this sequence right here. Waiting on Red 13, Aerith's at 5 ATB, Ifrit's going to go into Flame Impact, block it, Cura, fully heal back up to full, and now we are going to tank the dive bomb. Because he is targeting either Aerith or Red 13, I know I can survive it, barely, but barely is all you need. After that, we're going to go into another sigil break right here against Ifrit. Okay, 10 sigils should be super chill, especially if you have a diamond sigil breaking weapon. All right. I'm going to heal with Aerith in the middle right there. We don't even need her to help break. Cloud is just going to do damage right there. It does not matter if he's using Fierce Claw or Stream Saber. The moment after that, we're going to switch back over to Bahamut's Mega Flare, and we're just going to continue the fight. If you can get to this point in time, guys, this fight is going to be incrementally easier, all right? The crux of the fight is past at this point. From here on, you just need to continue doing the same things that we have been doing so far. All right, now, we are not going to be able to stop this Mega Flare, so make sure that Aerith has good ATB right when he goes into his Dark Aura right here. All right, we're going to get off one more hit on Cloud, jump over to Aerith right here. We're going to wait for Flare Aura. That's going to Magic Defense break us. We're going to counter it with Spiritual Harmony. Red 13 is going to go into his Magic Attack break. Everyone is full HP. All right, we're going to get that Magic Attack break to high. Aerith is going to use Spiritual Harmony one more time. I'm going to wait a little bit longer to cast it just to make sure that it stays the entire time. And now we are going to tank this second Mega Flare, or actually third Mega Flare of the fight. Lots of Mega Flares. All right, so there we go. We're going to tank that. We're going to tank this one right here. All right, so here we go. Here comes the Mega Flare. Boom. Super chillin'. Aerith has max ATB going straight into Blessed Aura. All right, now we're just going to continue doing the damage. We're going to breach on Bahamut, make sure that defense down is there. All right, and now they're going to go slowly into the double limit here. All right, which we are going to use Red 13's Stardust Ray once again to break Ifrit's physical magic attack, which he is going to get right here through Heat Up. All right, so make sure that you switch over to target Ifrit. All right, we're going to drop the Stardust Ray, which is going to make surviving that so much easier. If you're not breaking those physical attack, magic attack ups, they will start to stack on Ifrit, and they can stack up to, I believe, 4 times, making it insanely hard to actually survive the Crimson Flare. But once you get off the Stardust Ray, it makes it so much easier. You just have to make sure that Bahamut has a magic attack break of high, and you have the magic defense buff. As you can see, it was wearing off right there, but we're going to barely keep it in time. All right. That's why you want to wait a little while to use that Spiritual Harmony in the Mega Flare so that it lasts through the Crimson Flare. Like I said, playing Aerith is the crux. The timing of using her spells is extremely important. All right, so there we're going to tank that Crimson Flare right there, and we're just going to continue going on with what we're doing. So if we're targeting Bahamut, Red 13 is breaching. He's also AoE healing. Aerith is healing at the same time. Make sure that you have more than half HP when you use Spiritual Harmony so that you get the physical attack buff up. All right, so there's Red 13 doing some backup healing right there. Here comes another Mega Flare bar. It's going to be a 5. It's going to be a countdown of 5. And so at this point in time, I will be using Fierce Claw in order to get as much damage as possible, because it does a little bit less damage to the Mega Flare bar. So it gives us more time to, you know, set up for the next phase of the fight. These 5-tier countdown Mega Flares are kind of like brief Seisuras in the fight itself, so that we can, you know, recoup and prepare for the next sequence right there. All right, while at the same time doing as much damage as possible, making sure that the HP between Ifrit and Bahamut is as close as possible. All right, so another thing to note is that you have until the 2 to block the Mega Flare. If it hits 1, he will do the Mega Flare. So you want to make sure that you're breaking it by the time the 2 is said or shortly after. All right, so there we go. The Mega Flare is switched over. We're switching back over to Ifrit right here, doing some damage. Red 13 is getting the breach, the ice breach. All right, and I believe he's about to go into his second ignition phase. All right, and just like before, the moment he goes into Heat Wave, we are going to interrupt with Stardust Ray. There's the Icy Judgment. There's the Diamond Dust. We were able to recover the Stardust Ray even from using it during that Crimson Flare, which wasn't too long before. That's the nice thing about having a very fast charging limit break, especially one like that for Red 13. All right, so once we did that, Shiva right here is going to basically fully break Ifrit's Ignition Gaze. All right, let's see how we do. Fully broken, okay? And they're pretty close in HP right now. All right, we're going to block the Heat Wave right here with Aerith, counter with Blessed Aura. There's going to be one more of these, okay, while Cloud and Red 13 are still doing exactly what they were doing before. All right, we're going to switch back to Aerith. We'll block the spin attack. All right, switch back to offensive, then we'll block the Heat Wave right here. Sometimes they're separated, so you can block them independently. All right, there we go. That's the second Heat Wave. From now, we just have to break the Crimson or the Ignition Bar. There you go. One hit from Cloud does it. From here, we're just going to wait to tank the Crimson Dive, and Bahamut is going to go into his second Dive Bomb. He targeted Red 13, which means we are in the clear. On top of that, this time we have Cloud's ultimate weapon. Boom, right there. There's Ultimate Braver. That is going to make surviving this Dive Bomb so much easier than the first one right here. All right, same thing right here. We're keeping an eye on Ifrit about to do his Flame Impact. All right, here we go. We're going to block it with Aerith right there. Okay, we're going to keep the blue stance until the Dive Bomb follows through. It's exactly the same sequence as the first time, and we are going to survive it. This is going to lead us straight into another Sigil Break right here, which would be Bahamut's Umbral Frenzy, which would do a great amount of damage. All right, but with Cloud and Red 13 and Aerith using D-Brave, we're going to be able to easily break this Sigil, while Cloud is still doing as much damage as he can to both Ifrit and Bahamut. All right, so there goes that. I believe it's going to basically take us straight into another sigil break right here in a second. Let's find out. But in the meantime, Aerith is just doing her thing, making sure that we're getting that spiritual harmony buff up. Boom, right there. Get the physical attack up. Red 13 can back up heal, all right? But keeping that breach on Bahamut is super important. Here comes the next sigil break, another diamond sigil break, all right? This one's back on Ifrit, okay? As you can see, we're keeping the HP of Ifrit and Bahamut like reasonably close together. Okay, here we go. All right, we're going to break it right there. Switch back to Bahamut and just continue doing damage. Okay, so we got Ifrit into the red. All right, we're going to switch over to Cloud, do some freezing stream right here. All right, and I think we're going to need to breach him with Red 13 here in a second, so a little bit slow right here. We're not going to be able to stop this Mega Flare. Like I said earlier, this was the first time I got Bahamut in the red. This fight was the very first time I got him in the red, okay, which further solidifies the fact that the Cruxes are already past us in this fight, okay? All right, so he's going into the Mega Flare. We're going to basically heal the magic defense break with Aerith doing spiritual harmony. Red 13 is going to break the magic attack to high right here. Okay, we're waiting on spiritual harmony to have it last as long as possible, right? Okay, as long as we get off the 2 frenzied fangs, Bahamut is good to go. Everyone is fully healed up. We're going to switch over to Aerith and basically wait to block the Mega Flare and then heal from it right here. All right, so absolutely perfect, going super smooth so far. All right, so here comes the 4th or the 5th Mega Flare. Can't even remember at this point in time. All right, we're going to counter with Blessed Aura. Red 13 is going to help with the healing. Basically get us almost full health within 2 little heals right there. Cloud is going to continue doing either Fierce Claw or Freezing Stream, depending on the HP thresholds of the characters. I'll switch back and forth. Here comes the next Crimson Flare. Keep an eye on Ifrit's heat up right there. The moment he does that heat up, we're going to want to break that physical magic attack, all right? And I think on this setup, as long as we get the buffs where we want them, I'm probably going to use the Stardust Ray and both summons right here as well, all right? So right there at the end, Stardust Ray, making sure that you're targeting Ifrit. All right, absolutely beautiful. Okay, so we're going to break his physical magic attack back to neutral. Here comes Icy Judgment. We'll get that full mid-tier ice attack up. Then we're going to drop Shiva. That's going to put their HP relatively low right here, all right? So we're down into the last 15% of their HP bar or so. All right, we're going to tank the Crimson Flare. Okay, perfect. At this point in time, it should be like clockwork for you guys. You're doing a lot of the same mechanics over and over. Like I said, there's only a couple crux features of this fight. Okay, we're fully good on everything. Okay, Red 13 and Aerith are both going to heal. Cloud is still doing Fierce Claw to just keep them going down at the same interval. Okay? Alright, so here comes a 5-count Mega Flare, which was honestly an absolute blessing at this point in time in the fight. I'm going to really take my time during this sequence, make sure I get all my buffs up and ready, make sure I'm having as much extra ATB as possible, okay? And basically just, you know, Red 13 has Breach, Ice Breach on Ifrit right now, plus the Breach on Bahamut right there, and we can take this countdown all the way to the 2, alright? I think we'll probably break it before then, but it's going to be okay because now they're getting closer to around the 10% HP mark. And as you can see, their limits are almost getting charged again. Red 13's is almost back up. Cloud's Shiva's Diamond Dust is almost charged. It's more than halfway. All right, so here we go. It's just continuing the Fierce Claw right here. All right, there we go. Mega Flare, I think, needs one more hit in order to break the bar. There's the 2 count, so right around the time you want to break it. Perfect timing right there. All right. Now, once we've stopped the Mega Flare, it's going to take them into a different sequence right here, but it's going to be one of the sequences that you guys have already gone through. So you just have to wait and see what it is. All right, so for us, it's going to be the 3rd ignition phase. We already know exactly how to handle this. The moment Ifrit's going to go into his heat wave, we are going to block it with Stardust Ray. Boom, drop the Shiva. Icy Judgment wasn't charged yet, but at this point in time, Ifrit is so low on HP that Shiva is just going to take him out anyway. All right, so here we go. Dropping Shiva's Diamond Dust. All right, there goes Ifrit. Bahamut is at around 5% HP. Now we are just fully focusing DPS here, guys. All right, so just making sure that the breach is up on Bahamut and that the physical attack buff is up on Cloud for the rest of the fight, because as you guys can see, Bahamut is about to start charging his final Mega Flare. Ifrit died. His buddy is down for the count. He is pissed. He's determined to frickin' wipe the floor with us. And so here he goes. There's Flare Aura. Do not break it. Do not defend against it. You cannot survive it. You just have to kill him. All right, as you can see here, we're one hit away. The charge is halfway through it, getting Cloud's freezing stream. Super, super, super close. And there is the end of the fight right there, guys. I hope that my explaining and voiceover / walkthrough of this fight is going to be enough to, you know, help you guys get this clear in the game. So that being said, you know, if you guys enjoyed this video today, please don't forget to drop a like, subscribe to the channel for more content. And that being said, I just want to say I really wish you guys the best of luck out there. I know this fight is not easy. It takes a lot of work. You know, for me, it took almost a week, and I don't know how many tries. It at least probably 10 to 15 hours of failing, but it can be done. You just have to really figure out exactly what you need. Focus the first Crimson Flare, focus the dive bombs. If you guys can survive those and still manage like an upper 7,000, you know, 7.6, 7.7, 7.8 thousand physical attack character, you should be able to get this done. So anyways, guys, thank you for watching this video today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I wish you guys the best out there. That being said, hope you all have a wonderful night. Take care and peace.